Hey, Hound Dogs, I'm David Hankins,
I'm Paul Hankins.
And Trevor Hankins.
and you're on the air with Power Squared. Sorry we're a little late tonight. Uh, we're going to talk about 80 years of the railway series that brought us Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yes.
For anybody that of a certain age, you know who Thomas the Tank Engine is.
Yes.
Yeah, Trevor and I were kind of the right age when Thomas came over here as a TV series.
Right.
So at least part of this will be sort of reminiscing about watching that.
So the series started 80 years ago with Reverend W. Awdry's book, The Railway Series, 1945. It's based on some stories that he was telling his son Christopher about railways, and I guess he was a big railway guy, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and
Like one of the biggest railway nerds on the planet.
so yeah, because there were all a bunch of books about it. And so he was telling him stories while the kid was sick, I think with the measles or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he probably put him down in writing in 1945, and then of course in like the 80s or late 80s or early 80s they started making television series.
Yeah.
Yes.
Late 80s.
Yeah, and that's what we know. We're not trying to be again experts about railways because just looking at the cars,
Yeah.
the types of engines, I get lost in some of that stuff. But it was a lot of fun. So it's fun to kind of reminisce about our remembrances of because I was there watching it with you,
Yeah.
Yes.
Thomas the Tank Engine. So how'd you guys find out about it?
I don't remember.
I honestly don't remember.
We were like really young.
Yeah.
So I really don't know how we came across Thomas. But I at least remember being at the right age where it like captured us.
Right.
Yes.
And I know there was an added bonus for us as parents is because the first narrator was Ringo Starr
Yeah.
from some band called the Beatles, little band from the '60s. So that was kind of an incentive for us to maybe we introduced it to you because you like trains and because it was Ringo Starr.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but I do remember. It was it was a really cool little series when it was
Yeah.
on originally.
I actually had to remind myself that when it was originally brought over here, they had a framing that was Shining Time Station.
Right.
Yes.
I completely forgot about that until it was
Yeah, wasn't there something like Schemer Guy, and then there was the Ticket Lady or something, and
I at least remember the conductor.
yeah.
And the conductor was whoever the narrator was.
Right.
Going to say.
But I thought they had like some. I forgot the character name. We looked nothing up about
Yeah.
science for this, but
Or at least going off of memory.
yeah, but I thought they had like some guy that was trying to figure out. I don't know. I thought he was a schemer or something. But yeah, so that was the device, and then they actually put them out individually as on VHS tapes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, did you guys ever read much of the stories? I know we have a book.
We
Yeah.
have a collection of all of Reverend W. Awdry's books.
It's possible. I tried to read it when I was younger, but I don't remember much anything about it because I was probably like a really little kid.
I remember at least reading the ones that were like that we had seen turned into episodes.
Uh-huh.
I'll admit I kind of dropped off of reading the collection after when I started to not recognize the material that I have on and off. Thought about reading the rest of the.
I'm sure it's kind of a nice, general story or whatever. I mean, there's nothing like no one dies as far as I know in Thomas the Tank
No.
Engine. They get really hurt.
They can get into trouble. But
Yeah, yeah.
If you will, the books have the books compared to the TV series have sort of a slightly darker tone
Okay.
in places, but it's otherwise. I want to say it still has that sense of whimsy to it.
It could be. I mean, course, I'm not British and I wasn't around in World War II, but Britain was. It took them a long time to recover from World War II,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so maybe the darker is because he was writing it in 1945 or probably wrote in 44, and things weren't probably looking for a bright future, but at the time things were probably pretty hard there.
Like there's a bit in one of the books where it kind of explores like what happens when trains from the island of Sodor, which it's set on, are like sent to a scrapyard.
Right. Oh, that's pretty dark. It's kind of like those toys at the end of Toy Story 3 going down to the fire. But yeah. So then I guess I should mention that his son, after his father retired, started writing some of the stories as well.
For the record, I might be misremembering some stuff, but
It's just about memory. We're just talking about something that we remember fondly, and we're celebrating the fact that it's 80 years old.
Yes.
Which I think is pretty incredible that we're even talking about something that was written 80 years ago and entertaining it can be in modern times.
Yes. So I guess his son was writing because they were only adapting material that was written.
Right.
So he wrote material to be adapted.
And I realized, too, that it continued on after we dropped out watching it. Because, I mean, it was like season 24 in 2020, sorry. Season 24 in 2020.
Wow, so long going back in time.
Before he wrote it. That's how long it is. So long of the time doesn't matter. But I was just amazed that it went on that long. We kind of dropped out after like season 4 or something like that.
We can get into this a little later, but or not right now, but we ended up dropping off after Magic Railroad.
Okay.
That's as far as my memory of Thomas goes.
Something actually about the Railway series I was kind of reminded of recently. In the book, if I recall correctly, the character James was originally black engine, and at some point he is painted red.
Right.
And the TV series just has him as red from the start.
Well, you simplify things for kids because they probably go, well, what happened to him?
Yeah.
I mean,
So
It's kind of interesting seeing there was an origin story for that.
But the show itself, because of the anniversary, they put out the original pilot that they shot.
Yes.
For the first episode.
Yeah.
And it was interesting seeing that. It wasn't like 100% polished, but it was a good idea of what the first episode and the rest of the series would be. And of course, in the pilot, it was narrated by Ringo Starr.
Oh, okay. Right.
On the YouTube channel, Jer and I then rewatched the first episode, and on
the ones on the channel were narrated by George Carlin.
Okay.
Yeah, but even discounting the change in narrator, it was interesting how it was mostly the same, but they slightly changed part of it.
Right.
Yes.
Because I think there's sort of, as reading into it, there's sort of an American version and a British version because they had different narrators.
Yeah.
After Ringo.
I think I read the Ringo material was also redubbed by Carlin at some point.
Yeah. As I recall, it seemed like it was the same stories over again.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? I mean...
Vaguely.
You don't remember what happened in episode 1? No. I obviously do now. You watched it. Or the pilot. Yeah. So is the pilot different than is that not incorporated into anything? Or?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, sometimes the pilot is the first episode.
The pilot became the first episode, but they redid it. You can kind of tell they redid it at least somewhat to and it was more polished
Okay.
with the first
Well,
episode.
sometimes you're also doing sort of a proof of concept.
Yeah, I
See, we
think
can do this.
I think that's what the pilot was. But it was interesting how similar the first episode ended up.
I've never read or looked into how Ringo Starr ended up working on it. I mean, it's kind of a cool thing that he would do that.
Yeah.
And it's something that I know a lot of celebrities like to work on children's things because those are the things that people will watch for years and years if it's good.
Yeah.
You know, if it's crap, no one's going to care. But if it's good, people will be watching it 50 years later and go, oh yeah, so and so. So I don't know how he got involved, but it's really cool that he did because he was sort of well known enough to span the British American, and he kind of lent it a certain authenticity by the fact he's British.
Yeah.
Narrating it.
I guess while we're talking about narrators, I know I've heard Ringo, George Carlin, and Alec Baldwin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna ask about those. So yeah, let me see here. Ringo, he was the first, and he left in 1990. Music career.
Yeah.
Oh, he has one of these. So he was replaced in England by a guy named Michael Angelus,
Maybe Angelus.
Who did
If
it.
we're butchering it, then
Yeah,
someone
our
tell
apologies. But he did it from Series 3 to Series 16, so that guy was really the voice in Britain. But here in America, they gave it to George Carlin, who is a stand-up comic from the 60s and 70s. He was sort of, I'll say underground comic. He was very popular, but he was sort of one of those, kind of say what people were thinking, kind of, military intelligence, that kind of stuff. And he was very funny, but can be controversial.
Yeah.
And he was, it was kind of an odd. In some ways, knowing who he was, it seemed like an odd choice as an adult. Going, but
maybe he did it so that kids could watch.
Yeah, and again, he probably there's a certain you live beyond your years because people will be watching this. Go, George, they'll remember him for doing this as opposed to remember that joke he made about.
So, was hearing George Carlin again with the first episode. I thought he was good, and he made an effort to try to give the engines a different voice.
Now, did he try to sound British, or did he try to sound like? For some reason, I remember him not sounding.
He didn't really try to put on an accent, but you can tell he still put some energy into his reading.
Yeah. Of the three that I'm aware of, that we listened to or watched, he would be number 2.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We like Ringo so much, we have this unopened DVD that's entirely narrated by him.
I was going to say, in the pilot, so not the best sample,
Right.
Ringo didn't sound as energetic as he did in the actual series.
Well, the pilot is more of a proof of concept.
But he still helped with that storybook feel.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Ringo did a really good job. I think George Carlin did a pretty good job. It was just sort of a hearing the two. It was just he's very American versus very British.
And the only other one I remember is Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, who I'm really surprised of the three he would do it.
Yeah,
because he wasn't really known as a family guy at the time.
Yeah,
and I know he's got a big family now, but at the time he was kind of and he's even had run-ins with his own family that are kind of public. But he would seem like an odd choice because he seemed like he was a film actor.
Yeah,
and this seemed like. Are you just not getting roles, or what? You got a mortgage to pay? What are you doing this for?
Look, I guess looking at this chart, if we that you've made, if we heard Alec Baldwin, that must mean we at least saw some amount of Series 5.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't completely remember all the stories because, again,
He was kind
I'm
of,
a little kid. But
yeah, he just seemed the most. I think he tried to put on an accent of some sort, if I recall. I may be totally wrong.
I just remember not liking him as much as like Ringo.
Yeah.
yeah, like, it's like he's fine, just
No, yeah.
not as good.
And then he was actually in the live action movie they made,
yeah, it was
Yeah.
Magic Railroad.
which was kind of a cure. That was just not very.
I know we ended up dropping after Magic Railroad. I'm not sure. I don't think
Okay.
it's complete. I don't think it's entirely because it's not a good movie.
I think it was sort of a coincidence with we were getting older.
I think we around that time we were kind of aging out of it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it was sort of, but it was sort of like, okay, I'm getting out. Anyway, yeah. And I haven't, we didn't really follow it after that, but it went on till at least 2020,
Yeah.
at least in England. I don't know how long it stayed here. And then I guess they're now trying to bring it back. Something called,
All engines go.
right.
Yeah, that's been going. I think we ended up watching an episode of it
Uh-huh.
because I think it was because they introduced an autistic character and we wanted to see how they did it.
Right.
Uh,
It started in 2021, I guess.
yeah. And it's like, I think we thought it was kind of a respectful take, but then we didn't like the show itself
Okay.
because
Yes.
it's not Thomas.
There was sort of in looking at characters, there was like tons. I have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
I don't remember if we never saw them or they're animated solely or whatever. There's just this long list of characters that I'm sure are not in Awdry's book.
Seeing how many characters there were that I hadn't heard of, it's kind of like Thomas the Tank Engine is sort of the train equivalent of Sonic the Hedgehog in that sense.
Yeah, well,
There's a jillion characters.
yeah, I imagine too that they had to you want to come up with new characters to address, demographics and make sure everybody sees themselves in there somewhere, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It was actually I had done some research on my own like a while ago. So I guess at some point I was randomly playing catch up.
Okay.
What we know is like from when the trains were rendered with models.
Uh-huh.
I read at some point they switched to CG.
Oh, okay.
And then the last couple seasons of the CG era, where I think it was called like Big World, Big Adventures, and the idea was that it was representing as Thomas, but now with representation from other countries.
Yes. As I said, as I was scrolling through these characters, I realized some of them they sounded Japanese or they didn't
Yeah.
sound British characters, which is I am not familiar with them, so I don't know if they're good or bad. But it was just like wow, there was like a long list of people, and then some of the images were obviously CG or animated as opposed to the models.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I think the models sort of added a certain authenticity to it in a way.
Yeah.
Right.
I actually kind of like that Thomas and the Magic Railroad is kind of an movie, but I actually like that they stuck with the models.
Right.
Yeah.
Because then they introduced like the conductor's nephew or something. There was some other character. And I was like, well, anyway, yeah. I wasn't impressed with the movie, but it doesn't mean it's not a bad. It's a bad series, but we still like it,
Yeah.
even though we don't watch it. I have very fond memories of Thomas and how you guys liked it so much.
Yeah. I know we played with the trains because we're of the right age for that.
Yes.
Why wouldn't you play with the trains?
We don't have any on us right now, but using this train like Hot Wheels car as a stand-in.
Okay.
But they did release like metal trains that were kind of like around roughly this big.
Yeah,
They also had like wooden.
yeah. I think we got a lot of the wooden trains. They have like little magnets on them, I think, so
Yeah.
they connect.
Yeah, they had magnets on the front and back.
And there was another
chain them together.
Brio where somebody had trains out,
Yeah.
and you could connect. All had magnets, so you could connect them all together.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of, and the track and all that. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Let's break it out now and do it again. Okay.
With so with Thomas, our memories are definitely firmly entrenched in the model era.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And just looking at what came afterwards, I prefer the models.
I think I saw somewhere that they were auctioning off some of the models,
Right.
which I was sort of like, that's sad. Which means you're never going to use them again. So, yeah. And they would put different they had different faces they'd put on them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
At least the models, not.
Something I'm aware of is that probably as a testament to the enduring popularity of Thomas the Tank Engine. There is a theme park in Japan that is dedicated to Thomas.
Wow. And not surprised it's in Japan. But that'd be that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But,
So what I remember Thomas as a gentle, like calm
yeah.
show, even when they got into trouble or things went wrong, it was still
It was
it
about.
had a different vibe.
It was also about making friends.
Yeah.
It was about helping each other. There was a lot of nice messages that came out of the show.
Yeah.
And, that's a good thing for kids at that age to be watching as opposed to, I'll put Ballerina on. You guys can watch that. You know what I mean? So I think that was a good show at the time at your age. You kind of hit it at the right time for that.
Yeah.
Think one thing we didn't like about what we saw of All Engines Go is how it's like sort of tonally the opposite of the original series. Like it was like very
Energetic.
yeah, it was a bit too energetic. The fact that it's animated in 2D is not a bad thing, but
It's just that tonally I didn't quite understand the
So-
appeal.
as far as its adherence to railway rules, I would say Reverend W. Awdry is rolling in his grave.
Yeah, and again, if you're really into trains, there's probably a steam engine or a diesel engine in there that you'll go, oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Because there's just tons. There's tons of. Even looking at the characters that I recognize, I have no idea what these things are. It's this kind of a train. It's that kind of a train.
I feel like we can't really end this without mentioning Thomas was relevant in Bullet Train.
Oh yeah, that was the point I wanted to talk about. Yeah, it was the character.
So Lemon.
Yes.
Yeah, in Bullet Train, yeah, Lemon. It was played by Brian
Brian Tyree
Henry.
Henry. Yeah.
He used stickers of Thomas to you're a diesel or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that. That was really funny, and especially since we knew the references, it's very enjoyable. So
And it was plot relevant.
yeah.
It wasn't just a random character detail. It was actually important.
So if you ever watched Bullet Train,
Like, you are a Percy.
so if you ever watched Bullet Train, and went, what is that reference? You should watch Thomas the Tank. So
I remember when we saw that, I was like blindsided by that, so I laughed really hard.
he's a hitman or something, right?
Yeah.
That's not what you would expect. But, you got to start somewhere. So I thought we'd go over some of the characters and get kind of if you remember them or not or whatever. If you,
Right.
right? So Of course, there's Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yeah.
Probably the most iconic character.
Yes.
Yeah, it's top billing.
Yeah. Edward. Remember Edward?
Kind of.
Kind of.
Henry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was he green?
Yeah, he
Yes.
was green.
Yeah.
And it was one of the longer.
Right. Big. He was a big engine.
Yeah.
Yes.
As was Gordon.
Yes.
Yes.
Gordon was in the pilot and first episode.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thomas goes somewhere he shouldn't be because he's like, the rules don't apply to me. And then he falls into a mine.
Yeah.
And then Gordon,
Help pull him out.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I read somewhere that Thomas wasn't originally supposed to be a train that carried people or freight.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be and there was a term they used which I don't remember, but it meant kind of like he was sort of like the equivalent to a tugboat. He'd like pull the other trains and put them in the
Yeah.
wherever they slept at night. But he was sort of involved with moving things around the station as opposed to taking. But
Right.
because he rescued one of them from something similar, probably
Yeah.
he got promoted.
Although speaking of Thomas is often accompanied by two coaches
Yes.
Yeah.
named
Annie
Annie and Clarabelle.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of them also had I think Edward or some of them had their own.
Yeah.
So there was also James.
Yes.
Yes. He was the red one.
Yes, the red one. Percy.
Yeah,
Yes.
the other green one.
So this
The
is
short green one.
yeah. They refer to him as a saddle tank engine.
Okay, I wouldn't know
Yeah.
that.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know the minutia of locomotives.
Yeah. Percy.
We went over Percy.
Right. He was a green
Just
tank
now.
engine.
Yeah.
Toby.
Yeah. He's the
Oh, right.
that brown boxy looking car.
Yeah.
Duck.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember.
His real name is Montague.
Okay.
He got the nickname Duck because his engine claims he waddles. Okay, there was Donald and Douglas.
Yeah, I remember them.
Sort of.
My memory's getting hazy.
They were,
Donald and Douglas were these long black twin engines, and
Yeah.
they would in their introductory story. I was kind of reminded of this, but I still remember those two characters. In their introductory story, they play a trick on the Fat Controller or / Sir Topham Hat.
Yeah.
Or they pretended to be the other.
Okay, that's sounding familiar now.
yeah. So they're supposedly twins. I thought that would be kind of interesting for you guys being twins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think at the time that was kind of a really cool thing.
Yeah.
Oliver.
I think I read Donald and Douglas are also Scottish or something.
Yeah, I don't have that down.
Anyway.
Oliver. Remember Oliver?
Vaguely.
The black diesel engine. Then there was
I remember Diesel.
yes, it was a black diesel engine. What?
uh,
Oh, yeah, Diesel is a jerk, right?
yes. I think there was at least one story where Duck and Diesel had sort of a rivalry.
So, as a point of reference, he's the first standard gauge diesel on the island of Sodor.
I see.
And of course, there was a non-railway engine called Trevor. Remember that?
Yes.
That was kind of this is a diesel he'd pull like farm things around, right?
Yeah.
Or, rural. But that was kind of cool. It was a name.
Yeah.
And of all the characters, there was never a Paul that I could find. I don't know how you overlooked that name.
All those trains you don't have a.
And the other character, I guess that everybody probably is familiar with, is Sir Topham Hat.
Yes,
Who was originally
yes.
the Fat Controller.
Yes.
He was Sir
Yes.
Topham Hat the second.
Ah.
He just seemed like he was sort of bossy, but kind of liked the trains. It was kind of this weird.
I think I saw someone describe it as like a parent-child relationship.
Yes, that's very
Yes.
very good point. Yes, yeah, because he'd be like kind of stern with them, but at the same time you could tell that he really liked them.
Yeah.
Yes.
or love them, I guess, if he's a parent.
Yeah.
So that was kind of he liked the human character that you saw the most. You occasionally see like the conductor on a particular
Yeah.
train or whatever, but usually Sir Topham Hatt was the
Yeah. He was the one you saw the most.
yeah.
And in the original series, you still had conductors driving the trains. There was actually, I think I remember a story where Thomas tried to go without a conductor, and he effed around and found out.
FAFO.
I was gonna say, look how that turned out.
Well, see, they kind of give the impression that the trains are driving themselves in some ways, but yeah, they do have a conductor on them.
I think, as far as I recall, in All Engines Go, you don't see like a whiff of any conductor.
Do they have Sir Topham Hatt?
I think so.
I don't know.
Okay.
But, I'm not sure I remember seeing any conductors in there.
So, besides Thomas, do you have a favorite character? And I think these are the ones we were kind of most familiar with.
Right.
A couple earlier characters I kind of reminded myself of,
Okay.
or if I remember their names correctly, Birdie the bus.
Oh, yeah?
It was a red bus.
Yeah.
And Harold the helicopter.
I remember there being a helicopter
I want to say we have a helicopter.
Yeah, I think
somewhere.
so.
Yeah. White with red.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, is one of those your favorite character, or just remember them? Which is good. 'Cause
I think he was just remembering.
Yeah, I was just
I did not think of
remembering
that. I did not think of that. I was putting together the list of characters. Do you have a favorite outside of Thomas? Well, I think that's Birdie now, isn't it?
Harold.
Harold.
Harold. Sorry, Harold. the helicopter. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a Harold.
I thought we had one that was more.
It's a pullback.
Yeah, I thought we had one that was more. I'll say game accurate, but but that is yes, Harold the helicopter.
So, favorite character. Well, it's been a really long time.
Yes.
I guess I'll just say I remember, since we just saw the pilot first episode, I remember Gordon.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Gordon kind of came around, didn't he? He was kind
Yeah.
of a little stuck up, but he kind of came around.
Yeah.
Because he was a big, powerful engine. as I
Yeah.
recall. Yeah. Okay. That's
But
fair.
he still cared about the other.
Again, they all kind of look out for each other, which
Yeah.
is kind of nice. You know,
Yes.
It's a nice lesson to teach kids, and since he was a reverend, I'm sure that was important for him to get. Okay, so
As far as characters go, I was remembering they were also in material that we had seen. I want to say there was another pair of twin engines named Bill and Ben.
yes, I do remember seeing that. I just don't remember them as well as.
Donald and Douglas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were the first ones I recall,
Yeah.
and the others were just like okay.
I think because of that, Donald and Douglas left more of an impression on.
Yeah, the first is usually the ones you remember the best. Yeah, but you're right, there was, and there's just a ton of characters that
Yeah.
we had.
I don't even remember all of.
Yeah. Okay, so Thomas and Gordon.
Do you have a favorite?
I'm not entirely sure.
Okay, I was just asking. Do you have one?
It's been so long.
Yeah, it's been too long for me to
All right.
say if I have a favorite.
And our favorite narrator is
Ringo.
Ringo Starr, which is good to give him a job. All right.
George Carlin was good too.
Yes. So anything else you want to say about it?
I don't know. I guess the only other thing is if you haven't seen Thomas, I'd recommend the model era.
Yes. And Ringo, if you
Especially-
get this, I don't.
Yeah, especially the Ringo material.
I have a feeling those
They-
aren't available anymore.
Probably not.
The episodes are like 5 minutes long, so
You can watch it. This is like 3 discs and it's only like 132 minutes long.
yeah.
So
Yes.
yeah.
One thing I did find interesting, Thomas and the Magic Railroad specifically. I remember one point randomly finding out why it was a movie.
Okay.
Is because the main antagonist was originally going to be a human character named P.T. Boomer,
Uh-huh.
but he was deemed too scary for test screening.
Okay.
So they had to basically cut him out, which cut out basically the plot. They tried to pass off Diesel 10, who was originally a secondary antagonist, as the main antagonist, and it didn't work quite so well.
I definitely remember Diesel 10.
Okay, I do not. I really have
Yeah,
very little memories of the movie.
he was this long diesel engine, and he had a claw
Oh, okay.
on top.
I just remember going, this isn't very good. Okay. So,
I just thought that was interesting. And their Shout Factory released a 20th anniversary Blu-ray. They actually included, what I find interesting is that a special feature is they included the deleted PT Boomer scenes.
oh. Well, that
So now
almost,
you can watch the plot.
I don't know if I'd want to spend the money to watch it again, but, it's good to know that they tried to fix it.
Yes.
Because, yeah.
Or at least include that material as an option.
Yes,
Yes.
you could watch it in the order that it was.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was some fan recreation out there that wove it all back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they're already.
I mean, you have people meticulously recreating the theatrical cut of Star Wars, so
Yes. All right.
so I think that's about it.
All right.
This. Sorry, one last thing.
Okay.
Find interesting. It's probably another testament to its enduring popularity that they actually make like model trains based on Thomas the Tank Engine.
Okay. When you say model trains, is it like something you put together or just play with?
Like O gauge, different gauges.
Yeah, we actually have a, I don't know what gauge it is, a Thomas and a James.
Somewhere.
Like those small.
O gauge or something.
Yeah.
I don't know that much about gauges. But all right.
Sorry, that was.
No, it's a good point to bring up, and it's the time to do it.
Yes.
So, do you have anything to talk about? Like,
Yeah. So if you're looking for a silent fidget toy, use our code Marty and Eli to get 10% off your purchase at getono.com.
And if you're watching this on YouTube later and you like this, leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more, and leave a comment below if you have any memories of Thomas the Tank Engine that you would like to share.
all right.
Or the Railway series in general.
Okay. And if you've watched the new stuff, don't bother. No, I'm joking. All right. So, until next time, I'm David Hankins.
I'm
Been on the air with Power Squared.